but of course also the one who are online. I mean, yeah, probably the few people who are here in the room, they feel a bit lonely in this event, but I would always also remind you that we are doing, of course, this event also online. We are also recording, so feel like you're sitting in a TV studio and you're enjoying, in this case, also yourself. So it's really a great pleasure to welcome you to this event on behalf of the Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia. It's the first event, as Karina said, in the context of the 44th session of the European Commission on Agriculture today. So it's a bit really like an opener. I want to thank you all who are joining here in the room, but of course also the one who are online. The one who do not join, they will certainly miss an interesting debate and exchange this morning. Biodiversity is the foundation of our agri-food systems. It sustains crops, livestock, forests, fisheries and aquaculture, and it underpins food security, nutrition and the livelihood of millions of people. Yet, at the same time, unsustainable agriculture practices are among the main drivers of biodiversity loss, climate change, water contamination and soil degradation. So this duality really means that agri-food systems both depend on biodiversity and place it also at the risk. So addressing these challenges lies really at the heart of FAO's work and our collective responsibility, but it, of course, is also a great opportunity. An opportunity to drive the sustainable transformation of agri-food system so that they really can sustain the biodiversity, unlock co-benefits for the climate, unlock co-benefits for the land and the water, and secure resilient livelihoods, food and nutrition security, both today, but of course also very important also for future generations. We also stand at an important moment. The coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework gives us a roadmap to harmonize our relationship with nature, and biodiversity and agri-food systems are really central to achieve, in this case also, the set targets. If we are looking ahead, we are of course also excited about the upcoming COP17 in Armenia 2026, and in this case I'm really also happy that we're going to have an online intervention from Armenia, because it will be a unique opportunity to put the agri-food systems at the center of the biodiversity discussion on the global stage and to showcase the leadership of this area of this region. In this regard, I'm really happy that Ms. Rosanna Grigorian, the head of the Department of International Relations, is providing this input on behalf of Armenia and showcasing already what is to be expected. I'm also very much looking forward to hear from Frédéric Castel, the Senior Natural Resource Officer from the FAO's Office of Climate, Biodiversity and Environment, who will bring us also the global perspective on biodiversity and agri-food systems. And following these interventions, we will move into a panel discussion with the distinguished voices, and thank you very much for Norway participating, contributing. Thank you also for Apimondia, and of course also the FAO Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia experience to exchange, to provide the perspectives and how to better align the agri-food systems and the biodiversity benefits. So thank you very much again for joining us this morning, and I'm looking forward to the dialogue ahead. Karina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So now we would like to invite Frederic Castel. He's going to be connecting online. And we have him. While our colleagues are connecting, so Frederic Castel is our Senior Natural Resources Officer from HQ, and he is also the person responsible for supporting FAO with the COP preparation. And as maybe most of you know, the COP will take place in Armenia next year. So for our region, this is very important. I see Frederic connecting. Hello, Frederic. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good morning, Carolina, and happy to be with all of you. So it's really a pleasure for me to present, and thank you, Rie, for the opportunity to address you today as you meet to discuss. It's really a pleasure to be with you, advancing biodiversity and sustainability. Even if I'm not in presence in Budapest, I think it's a really important event. So as already mentioned by Raymond, agriculture is really at the heart of many national economies, and it's really deeply linked to biodiversity, and ensuring its integration into NBSAPs is essential to the KMGBF. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I don't know if it's possible to share it or not.
Yeah, we can see it, Frederic, in a very nice screen. So yeah, you can go ahead. It's very beautiful, by the way.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So maybe I will ask you to go to the next slide. As I don't see the screen, I have
you have the second slide is with a bee, with sugarcane made of. Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay. So as you can see on that screen, as you know, agri-food systems cannot function without biodiversity. The statistics on the screen show some of the crucial links. For example, 75% of crops depend to some extent on animal pollinators, and Carolina, you know that well. Better management of crop pollination can increase yields by 25%. Soil is home of over 60% of the world species. Around 8,800 livestock breeds are used for food and agriculture, and only 9 species account for over 66% of all crop production. Next slide, please. So on that slide, you see also that global assessment confirmed that biodiversity is declining or at risk, including the biodiversity that is really essential for food and agriculture, and most often from unsustainable practices in agri-food systems. So here you have a few figures again, and as much as 95% of global food production no, that's really depend on soil, but I already say that. And 1/3 of the land is highly degraded to moderately degraded, and 420 million of hectares of lands were deforested between 1990 and 2020. So there are just a few examples. I could go on and on, but next slide, please.
Frederic, just there is something weird with your camera. It's black.
Yes.
Now maybe you cannot see you.
Oh, you can. That's really weird.
Yeah.
I see. I have the same problem. I see myself black. I don't see myself. Is it?
Yeah.
Do you see the presentation or?
No, the presentation is fine. It's just you. It's fine. You can go. I just don't see.
Okay. So apologies for that.
No, it's okay.
So as mentioned by Raymond, there is a really important decision, which was the adoption of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which was adopted in December 2022 at the 15th conference of the party to the Convention on Biological Diversity in Montreal. And really the KMGBF, as we call it, is a landmark agreement providing a shared global vision for halting and reversing biodiversity loss. The framework really sets out long-term goals and has 23 specific action targets to be achieved by 2030. And the KMGBF is really an ambitious a framework, and there is a clear call to involve agri-food sectors. Next slide, please. So, for those of you who are familiar with the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, you will know that several targets are directly linked to agri-food system. For example, those shown on the screen, but also all others are directly linked to agri-food sectors. So I really invite you to consult our publication. You have a QR code, and the publication describe the links between agri-food systems and each of the 23 targets of the KMGBF. And you see that it means that really the frameworks cannot be achieved without agri-food sectors. Next slide, please. So, guided by its strategy and its action plan to support the implementation of the strategy, FAO really supports countries in implementing global biodiversity frameworks and different agreements in different ways, including the KMGBF. Next slide, please. So, just to give you, next slide, please. Just to give you a few examples. In alignment with the 24-27 action plan to support the implementation of the strategy. I think it's on the next slide, unless my screen is not good, but...
yeah, can you move the slide, please? Thank you.
Yes, okay. This one. So FAO provide really technical support and policy support for the integration of agri-food system in NBSAPs, a National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. For example, through facilitation of participation of agri-food stakeholders in the development of the NBSAPs, or through the development of guidelines. We also help country to access finance, supporting country to develop a project proposal for the GBFF, for instance, or for the KBF, which is the Chinese fund, especially to support the implementation of the KMGBF. I have to say that in Rio region, there were not so many proposals made to those funds, so maybe that's a call for the future, and we could see how we could strengthen development of project on mainstream biodiversity. We also support the implementation of projects at country level to support the mainstreaming of biodiversity in agri-food system policies and practices. And we provide also capacity building opportunity and develop knowledge and advocacy projects. And another thing that we do is just to support development of indicators for biodiversity monitoring across agri-food systems. So next slide, please. And to support the implementation of the KMGBF, but not only, FAO has developed the FAO Biodiversity Knowledge Hub. And again, you have the QR code on the screen for that hub. And that hub gather really the existing knowledge and resources on biodiversity in the agriculture sector to enhance countries' knowledge and capacity to implement the KMGBF and achieve food security for all. So through this knowledge hub, you will find a resource module, and in that resource module, users can search, filter, and access a really broad range of FAO resources, including data, indicators, guidelines, policy advice, on biodiversity in the agri-food sectors, and you can make a research also target by target. So if you want to support the implementation of target, for instance, the one target 7 on pollution on pesticide, you can make a research and you will have proposal for really specific technical tools from FAO. Next slide, please. Since the adoption of the Kunming-Montreal biodiversity framework, there was the COP16 also that took place in Colombia, and in Colombia, FAO launched the Agri-NBSAPS initiative. And this is an initiative, as you can see, it was launched in presence of 30 ministers, and it's really to accelerate the integration of biodiversity into agri-food sectors. And the idea is really to support government to align the policy, environmental policy and agricultural policy, just to make sure that there is a real coherence among the policy, to support also implementation through the promotion of biodiversity-friendly practices and different innovation, but also to support sustainable finance to mainstream biodiversity across agri-food system, because we see that finance on biodiversity is mainly going to conservation, but it's also really important to put some money to transform the way we produce, to make sure that the food system, agri-food system are more sustainable. And the other thing that we want to do is really to build knowledge and to support monitoring and reporting of the national targets. Next slide, please. So this is, Raymond mentioned that the next COP will be in the region, so it gives you a timeline of the implementation of the KMGBF. So it was adopted at COP15 in 2022. At the last COP in Colombia, the parties are to present the NBSAPs, the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. And at the next COP in Armenia, in October 2026, countries will have to present the national reports, just to report on the implementation of the KMGBF. So that's going to be a really important COP also. Next slide, please. And maybe I will finish with that slide because I don't want to be too long. What we're doing at the moment, we're just analyzing the NBSAPs that were submitted by country at the last COP. I have to say that not all parties to the CBD submitted their NBSAPs yet, but some did. And for the Rio region, 35% of the Rio members have submitted a revised version of the NBSAPs or an updated NBSAP. So meaning 18 countries plus EU submitted their NBSAPs. So we are just starting the analysis of those NBSAPs, and we'll present at the COP next year the in-depth analysis of those results. But the first finding is that in the Rio region, 30% of the total action in the NBSAPs are really relevant to agri-food system. And that's really key, just to say that action on biodiversity have links with agri-food system. So without the transformation of agri-food system, we won't contribute to protect biodiversity. And what we see also in that analysis, one of the key findings is that agriculture and forestry are the most targeted sectors. And we see that actions on aquaculture sector, for instance, are underrepresented. Only a few countries have activities on aquaculture sector in the NBSAPs. And I think another finding is that all the country in Rio committed agri-food related action to implement the target 10, which is really the target specific on enhancing biodiversity and sustainability in agricultural sectors, so agriculture, forestry, fisheries, and aquaculture. So that's just the first finding, but we'll present a more detailed analysis next year at the COP. And I will stop here, I think. So next slide. I thank you very much, and I remain available for any question you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frederic, for this presentation and for setting the scene. It's very important that you mentioned about financing. This is a question that we keep receiving from the countries. I also would like to highlight that we do have a lot of GEF projects in our region on agrobiodiverse and food systems. So we are working also with this donor. But it's true that for GBFF and KBF, we haven't had any successful proposal so far. And I want to say so far because we really hope that this will change in the near future. Thank you so much. And I hope you are going to stay online with us. We are going to have some debate. And yeah, if you have questions for Frederic also, do we have any questions at this stage for Frederic? Okay, so no. Thank you so much. And do we have Husana Groga? I have to read her name, sorry. Grigorian online? No, we don't. Jeremy, can you follow up with this? So maybe, sorry, we are supposed to connect with our colleague from the Minister of Environment from Armenia. But I remember we are having some online and technical issues, so let's see how this will be solved. The idea was to have a little bit of a presentation on how Armenia is preparing for the COP. As Frederic and Raymond mentioned, the COP will be in Armenia, and for our region, this is a very important moment to also highlight and raise the profile of the importance of the topic. So you wait for our colleagues to solve this technical issue, and we are going to move to the panel discussion. And maybe if she can connect, we give her the space. So I would like to ask...
Sorry.
Ah, she's here.
Yes.
Okay, good. I can... Okay, how are you,
Hi,
Husana?
Carolina. Fine, thanks. And what about you?
I'm fine.
I have written in the chat that I'm
now
here.
I can see you even. Good to see you.
It's also my pleasure to see all of you. And thank you for this event. May I already start?
The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So on behalf of the Ministry of Environment of the Republic of Armenia, I would like to welcome all of you on this side event on biodiversity for food and agriculture. And biodiversity loss in agriculture is a pressing threat to global food systems, reducing our ability to cope with climate change, environmental degradation, and nutritional challenges. In light of this, Armenia assumes the responsibility of hosting COP17 with humility and purpose, guided by the core values of inclusivity, transparency, high ambition, and action. Our goal is to convene not only governments, but indigenous peoples and local communities, women and youth, cities and regions, scientists and educators, business, finance, so that to work as one community for life on Earth. About our vision, it includes several pillars. First of all is ambition. The KMGBF gives us a destination and a map. We will therefore place the global review of collective progress as the heart of COP17, making it a crucial tool for timely course correction. And through promotion, a review, drawing on national reports and regional dialogues on NBSAP, the GBF monitoring framework, science and knowledge systems, and contributions from non-state actors. The purpose is clear: identify what works, expose where we are off track, and build consensus on how to fix it before 2030. A transparent global review will assess collective progress and inform timely course correction policy, cooperation, and finance adjustment. The next pillar is the action and implementation. We are going to prioritize nature-positive food systems, nature-based solutions, and community-led ecosystems restoration. As a national flagship, we will present a stakeholder-driven program for Lake Sevan, our largest freshwater ecosystem, linking ecological recovery with water and food security, green jobs, and local well-being. We also touching a high importance to the synergy and complementarity across conventions. Armenia's vision is to connect the dots across biodiversity, climate, land, plastics, chemicals, and waste reduction. To that end, we will propose a practical coordination, and the objective is clear: reduce duplication, accelerate implementation, and strengthen country capacity, especially for developing countries and for indigenous peoples and local communities. It is also important to build the bridges. Connectivity is how life persists across habitats, borders, generations. Armenia will champion ecological connectivity and cooperation as accelerator of prosperity and peace. We will highlight regional initiatives that safeguard eco-corridors and migratory routes, improve water and air quality, and make our economies more resilient. Within these pillars, it is also very important the inclusivity, to organize an inclusive multi-stakeholder COP, which is very important to promote multi-stakeholder rights-based and gender-responsive implementation and structured role for youth and local communities across the preparatory work. And of course, for all these steps, it is also very important the resource and means of implementation. We need to match our ambition for KMGBF implementation with the necessary resources, funding, and means of implementation for developing countries, indigenous peoples, and vulnerable communities. And in light of this, the empowering of indigenous peoples and local communities is a steward of nature preservation. Advancing education and awareness raising for biodiversity conservation is also among our priorities, as education plays a crucial role in raising understanding, appreciation, respect for and protection of nature, and in motivating young generation to meaningfully participate in biodiversity conservation efforts. Dear colleagues, we will put in place measures to deliver tangible outcomes. This will include a focused analytical segment of the global review with the solution-oriented outcomes, voluntary fair exchange mechanism to support alignment of ENG subs, selection of indicators, and their mainstreaming across sectors. Partnership on nature-positive business disclosure to promote monitoring management and transparent reporting, and targeted steps to scale up finance for delivery ranging from improved access to funds to innovative instruments. And in the coming months, Armenia will convene a regional dialogue on NDSAP implementation. We will host also technical consultations on indicators, data and finance, and organize a pre-COP in Yerevan to mobilize all regions. At COP17 itself, thematic days will spotlight synergy across conventions, financing for nature, climate biodiversity action, sustainable agriculture, biodiversity and health, urban biodiversity, as well as the leadership of women, youth, indigenous people, and local community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Susanna, for setting the scene and explain the next steps for the COP. We are really looking forward, and I really hope many of us will be in Armenia next year, and you are expecting to have a very important resolutions and outcomes from the COP. So yeah, looking forward to partner with the government, and I invite all the countries here to really also think about the commitments we do to mainstream biodiversity. Climate change is real, we are here, we are in a very unique multilateral geopolitical situation in the world. So biodiversity is really a key element that we need to bring at the center of our policies and see how this can be mainstreamed and how we can really shift the trends that we have now globally. Thank you so much. So now I will invite our panel. We have three very distinguished colleagues who are going to debate with you. I'm going to invite Paul from Norway. It's very good to see you and be able to share this panel with you. Paul is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are also going to have Robert from Apimundia. Apimundia is I think your association, right? It's a federation of beekeepers, and they are very important in promoting the importance of bees and pollinators. They were very a key stakeholder when the World Bee Day was announced. And we also have Anna, who is being online with us. Anna is our biodiversity and science and innovation specialist. And you'll be connecting. Can we have Anna?
Hello, colleagues, I'm with you.
Okay, I can hear you. I still cannot see you. Hope to see you soon.
Okay.
Yeah. So the idea here is to have a kind of informal, a breakfast discussion. And now I can see Anna. Good to see you. And yesterday, when you're deciding how you're going to organize this meeting, I had an idea to bring some food. So I do have Brazilian food in this bag. I freshly baked Brazilian pão de queijo for you. And why I did that is because we always need to connect food and everything we eat with biodiversity. Every time you make a decision about the food we are eating, we are also making decisions about how we are promoting biodiversity. We don't like to eat the same thing every day. We come from a region here that is so rich in food habits. And if you think about it, how we are shifting the agri-food system to monoculture, to more like harmonized seeds, we are missing our culture. And I would say agriculture, it's a combination of two words, the agri, which is the production, and the culture, that is who we are. So where we belong, what kind of things we like. And when you move to this more globalized world, every time we travel, we can buy the same food. So if I go to Norway, if I go to a supermarket, I can find the same foods that I find here or I can find in Taiwan. And this was very difficult 25 years ago. So we also need to make sure we don't forget that we do have local foods, we do have this agrobiodiverse that's connected to who we are. So this is my the set that I want to give to this discussion. And then I would like to ask, I think I will start with you, Paul. So sorry to put you on a spot. You should have a microphone. Do you have one? Yeah. So to kind of say what Norway is doing to promote biodiversity within the agri-food system. Because also it's important to remember Norway is a very important donor as well at this on biodiversity for many countries.
Yes, let's start with that. But first, I think that what we have seen today is how important is FAO in the global multilateral system in providing global public goods, as we have seen on biodiversity and connection to agri-food systems. I think it's more crucial than ever that we are here to support this extremely important pillar of the world multilateral system. We will see huge pressure in the years to come. I mean, already it's happening. And we'll see even more next year in terms of funding for all kinds of development. And we will see, and we are seeing huge pressure on the multilateral system itself, even though our view, and I'm just a diplomat, I'm not a specialist, of course, on any of the food and agriculture issues, but we saw at the General Assembly in New York last week, it was not as bad, let's say, as many had feared. It was a kind of reaffirmation of countries' commitments to the United Nations system, of which FAO is such an important part. But when I see that UNDP is talking about a $700 billion annual finance gap for biodiversity and the NB SAPs that we are talking about. It's clear that it's not possible to plug that gap from donor resources, of course, but also from national resources, even though what is very clear now is that the finance that will be available will be increasingly, I think, climate finance, in addition to humanitarian finance, which will obviously happen. But whereas development finance, development will have to be done by the countries themselves. I mean, that will be the onus on every country to take care of their own classical development needs, because traditional donors, we're not only talking about United States, we're talking about most donors. Norway is staying with our 1% of GDP, but even we have to reallocate funding to support Ukraine against the Russian aggression, and also to support our own defense needs for the same reason. So there is a huge shift underway which will affect the whole of the multilateral system. That being said, of course, we continue from our side to work actively with partners in Europe and elsewhere. And that includes one particular alliance that I would like to mention, the Alliance of Champions for Food Systems Transformation, which we started, Norway is co-chairing together with Brazil and Sierra Leone, and with original members from COP28, the Emirates Declaration, which was the first time that food systems, food security, was so clearly and closely linked to the climate change agenda. The Emirates Declaration is very important, and we are a champion together with Brazil, Sierra Leone, but also Rwanda, Cambodia, and now being joined by Italy from this region, as well as Vietnam and probably also Tanzania and a couple of others. Small alliance, but focused on this, how to grow more food for a growing population without undermining the commitments and conventions on climate and biodiversity, and vice versa, which is stated in the Paris Agreement, how to reduce emissions and reduce biodiversity loss without threatening food production. This is the double, let's say, or similar challenge that we are facing. And what we are doing in the Alliance of Champions for Food System Transformation is to show how we are doing this both nationally. For example, in Norway, we don't have a problem of undernutrition, but we have other problems of overnutrition, overconsumption, food waste, food losses, unhealthy diets. And of course, we all work hard to sustain or to manage sustainably our resources, whether it's fisheries or forests, and of course, reducing emissions and reducing biodiversity loss in this regard. Norway is, our, let's say, reporting on this is very much done in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals. This is established a system for all ministries to, and in terms of policy coherence, which is the question for this panel, I believe, this is the, let's say, original starting point of how to bring all ministries together in one approach. But it's very, it's of course challenging also when it comes to biodiversity and land use, even though in Norway the challenge is less on agriculture expansion because our land is already It's only 3% arable land. Farmers are also forest owners, but the pressure is more on building construction, cabins in the mountains, etc. We have, from this year, a new national action plan for sustainable use of genetic resources for food and agriculture. And that's also, I mean, it's challenging for all of us, but one element in this, of course, to sustain genetic diversity is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, which is also a global common good, which has seeds from all over the world, including from Syria and Ukraine recently, to protect in war situations, but also with regular deposits from all countries. And then, of course, in terms of supporting countries financially, big rainforest countries like Brazil, Indonesia, Congo, to preserve the rainforest, to protect the rainforest, and to finance and to support them financially to preserve biodiversity in that regard. We have our global climate and forest initiative, which obviously maybe you know about. It's not really active in this region, but it's in Africa and Asia and Latin America at quite a substantial effort in our overall development assistance, about $400 million per year. So these are important, and we encourage, of course, everyone to continue to take part and step up, but we see that it's going to be tough times ahead. You mentioned earlier on soil health, and that's, of course, extremely important. We know that there is interest at the highest, let's say, foreign policy levels about soil health after, I think it was Anthony Blinken in the previous US administration who said that without soil health, there's no food security. And without food security, there's no security. So this linkage has been established, and our major multinational fertilizer company, Yara, has established a private foundation, Varda, which we support from Norway's development funding also, to map soil health and to make an open global data platform for soil health, especially in Africa, of course, which is the focus of our development assistance, but that can potentially be expanded to other areas. So these are some examples of what we are doing in terms of biodiversity, whether it's in the soil or in forest, but the situation is serious. I mean, I think it was President Macron who said at the General Assembly how disastrous is the situation for biodiversity and how important these efforts are that are made by FAO and CJR, which is our secretariat for the Alliance of Champions for Food System Transformation, and also by UNDP, UNEP, and others in this context. It's maybe the biggest challenge we have next to climate change in the world today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Robert, do you want to share your actions and what Epimonde is doing to promote biodiversity?
Yes. Is it working? Okay. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, and online attendants, on behalf of beekeeping community, I would like to thank FAO for convening this important dialogue on biodiversity for food and agriculture. And it is an honor to bring the voice of beekeepers to this discussion. I represent here Apimondia Federation, which is the global federation of beekeeping association, and just last week, more than 8,000 beekeepers met at the largest beekeepers event festival in Copenhagen, including the presentation of FAO activities on this field. As was already mentioned, without pollinators, our diets would lose fruits, vegetables, nuts, oils, and already was mentioned that in Europe alone, 84% of cultivated plants depend, at least in part, on insect population. So what we do as a beekeeper federation is promoting the beekeeping not as a producers of honey, but as a ecosystem management system. Beekeepers are often the first to notice declines in biodiversity, pesticides misuse, or climate-induced shifts in flowering. There was a nice project, Insignia EU, where beekeepers as citizen scientists have contributed to biomonitoring programs that track pesticides residues and pollen diversity, providing invaluable data for policymakers. In Europe, we have also positive examples. For example, agri-environmental schemes that supports flowering strips and pesticides reduction have led in some countries to measurable increase in wild pollinators and crop yields. Also restoring pollinator habitats such as hedgerows, flowering meadows, and forest edges increase carbon sequestration while also sustaining pollinators. And some last sentences I would like to mention. What beekeepers need from policy. To ensure coherence between biodiversity protection and food system transformation, we ask mainly for three things. Firstly, recognition of pollination as an ecosystem service with economic value. Secondly, supporting for pollinator-friendly farming practices, like reducing harmful pesticides, increasing diversification of crops, floral resources, preserving semi-natural habitats. And then we call for cross-sectoral collaboration connecting agriculture, environment, climate, and health policies, and we can integrate also citizen science in this effort. We can use beekeepers' networks to monitor environmental health. So the health of our bees reflects the health of ecosystem. Europe has already shown that with the right policies, farming and biodiversity can thrive together. Beekeepers are ready to be partner in this mission. And after all, when we care for the smallest of creatures, we secure the future of us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you so much. It's very important to highlight the ecosystem services. I think we always forget to make this connection. So as we are running without time, I would like to give the floor to Anna. Anna, please, can you share a little bit what we and you are doing as part of the FAO and our work on biodiversity?
Of course. Thank you, Caroline, and very, very happy being on this breakfast event with you. Let me just briefly maybe highlight the challenges, and already the previous speakers touched on those. So within the, we are working within the programmatic priority on managing natural resources while preserving biodiversity in a changing climate. So this is already kind of shaping the way how we are addressing the issue of biodiversity. We still have a quite low awareness on biodiversity for food and agriculture, and that entails the recognition, low recognition, and weak, of course, integration of that into the policy action. Well, I wouldn't say that, but maybe it's still an orphan in the policy terms also, because it still is its position like on the intersection between the agriculture and environment protection. We've already heard of that also from Paul and from Frederick, that it really weakens the coordination between the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Environment, which is quite critical if we want to really have an effective measures on that. And this is why what we see in NBSAPs, in other strategies, is that biodiversity is mainly about the conservation efforts. It's concentrated on protected areas, and it's really has really limited involvement of the agri-food sector and its actors. And what is also important for us to highlight, and I want to thank Paul for that, touching on that, is the complexity. So we do, in our communication, our message, in our work, we are trying to highlight that biodiversity cannot be addressed without the consideration of climate change, without the consideration of soil biodiversity, land degradation, and also the livelihood. So these are all together, and the approach to Rio Convention combined synergetic is required, as well as the requirement for the whole of society approach. So within that scope, let's say, what we're doing, we are trying to support countries to integrate, of course, the biodiversity into their agri-food sector, and also to promote biodiversity for food and agriculture, preserve it. And we're doing those by awareness-raising efforts. We have a series of biodiversity in action materials where we are highlighting these links with climate change, with food security, with soil and land degradation, and recently also with pollution and pesticides that, Robert, you have mentioned this effect on the pollinators, and not only. And then we have also work on capacitating civil society. And this is where we are having the capacity building efforts on seeds, farmer seed systems, genetic resources, traditional knowledge connected to these farmers' communities, connected to these women seed savers and smallholders. And this is where the efforts, our efforts are to harmonize these two systems of farmers and formal seed system, and also to protect their traditional knowledge through this access and benefit sharing mechanisms, and etc. And we also have a very powerful tool, which is the Global Important Agricultural Heritage System. We have just recently had a first one recognized in Tajikistan. And this is, I think, just one first in a row. We have a lot also almost ready for the recognition in the countries across the region. Since we've mentioned these NBSAPs, and that's a quite substantial part of our work, we of course provide policy and finance guidance to the countries. Let me kind of remind you that we have a quite diverse region where we have developed countries and we have 17 development and more advanced economy. But so this is our kind of technical support is directed towards the 17. And we've seen at Frederick's presentation that the overall in the region, the submission of the updated NBSAPs is quite positive and optimistic. But unfortunately, within 17 countries, we have a lower level. So we have only one Republic of Moldova submitted the post-Global Birds Framework NBSAP. So we are working in order to support and integrate in also biodiversity for food and agriculture into that NBSAPs. And anyway, having the countries submitting their NBSAPs by next COP, which is fortunately in our region. And in order to do that, we also are analyzing how to the specifics of the previous NBSAPs on these program countries, and we will be presenting that also during the already mentioned regional dialogue that we will be having later this year. So I hope I have been in time to also leave the space for some questions. Or Carolina, back to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't think you're going to have space for questions. Do we have, you give like the space if you have one or two? Because I need to finish in 2 minutes. If we don't have questions, yeah. So now I have a very difficult job that should be summarize everything that we have discussed here in this past 1 hour. Starting from the opening remarks from Raymond, going to Frederick, Jana, and this amazing panel. There are a few aspects that I would like to highlight. That it's clear that we cannot eat without biodiversity. I think this is our main message. If we don't look at biodiversity as a core pillar, we don't have food security, and if you don't have food security, we don't have security. For me, this phrase is very important. And I think we are towards a world with less and less security, and food security is just one element of that. I will come back to you on the soil health initiative. I really like it to know that Norway is doing that. This is also part of our priorities. We are defining our next biennial priorities, and Anna and I, we are really pushing a lot soil health and soil biodiversity. This is something very important. I think the NBSAPs, they give us a framework, and then I connect a little bit with Robert, the monitoring aspect. If you don't know what's happening, how can we preserve? So sometimes we feel, we have developed monitoring indicators. Apimunda has very interesting also monitoring indicators. I think we should work more on that. And this, I push the responsibility to FAO. FAO should be providing better guidance on how we can monitor biodiversity from different levels, from farm level to national level. I will make a leap here and say that we can connect 2 levels. We keep talking about biodiversity and agriculture, and we still have a lot of problems to put Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Environment on the same table. So this national dialogue is very hard. And I work in several countries, and I have been working, the other day I made a count, I have worked in more than 25 countries by now, really working on with government. And it's funny because every time I say, oh, it's very difficult for us to talk. And no, it's difficult for everybody. So even in developed countries, when you think that things are a bit easier, this dialogue between agriculture and environment is very conflictual. But the leap I'm going to do is that we are talking about the importance of the multilateralism. And we need to look at our national level that this is also a little bit of multilateralism. When you put agriculture and biodiversity and economy and health and nutrition, and we have problems to have this dialogue and civil society, but then we expect other countries to also talk together, So this is something that we need to look at ourselves as well. I will close with the importance of the multilateralism. I think we are really in a crossroad of multilateralism. I agree that UNGA wasn't as bad as we are expecting, but still it's not good. we are challenging so many things. And we as the UN, we are part of the UN family, FAO, we are celebrating 8 years. And I think it's very important that we starting ECHA, we also reflect a little bit about what we have done and what we expect to do in the next, I don't want to say 80 years, because I really hope we went Hungary before, but like what are our next steps that we are expecting. So here we have the countries, we are invited together. We are talking about inequalities. And again, we have inequalities within countries, we have inequality within society, we have inequality among countries. And at some cases, we have countries dealing with food waste and obesity. We still have countries dealing with hunger. And I cannot, on the day of today, I cannot not ending my speech also recalling all the starvation and all the problems we are having in Gaza with everything that's happening there. And again, the multilateralism has a responsibility to look at it. Every single country we need to look at. We as the UN family, we also have a responsibility. Biodiversity is at the core of everything that's happening, because we are nothing without biodiversity. We are hunger without biodiversity. And you are never going to achieve peace without biodiversity. Thank you so much. And I still have the pão de queijo, who wanna try Brazilian delicacies here.
So let's see what this is.